Welcome to an extended edition of BSS Sports. It's me and Thomas. Thomas, how you doing, bro?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. All right, so NBA draft. A couple of points that I don't know if you knew or not. The Bulls are horrible at drafting. The men of Chicago cannot draft worth a darn. The only couple of good picks outside of the top 15 that they've had in the past couple of years are Norris Cole and Jimmy Butler, and that is it. Now, I'm going to say a couple of names, and you tell me if you've ever heard of them before.
Gotcha.
Malcolm Lee, Eric Murphy, Cameron Barstow, and Jusuf Nurkic, and Aaron Gray.
Never heard of any of them.
Okay, Aaron Gray played on the Raptors. He was like a third-string center. He went to
big
Detroit.
White guy.
He was horrible.
Gotcha.
Horrible. I didn't like him at all. And so those are some of the players they recently drafted beyond the top 15. Now, the people below the top 15, they've worked out Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really count. But outside of the top 15, they've had an extremely, well, not even a hit and miss. They've just pretty much failed miserably. Yeah. And then if you're looking at the Raptors, one of the main problems with them, from everybody, if you didn't know, sorry, I'm still chewing my breakfast here, they drafted a bunch of international players, right? So here's a list of all the international players they've drafted since 2004. Tell me if you've ever heard of any of these guys doing anything. All right, here we go. Rafael Araújo, Albert Morales, Roko Ukic, Oro Slokar, Edin Bakic, Tomislav Zubik, and Bruno Caboclo.
Bruno Caboclo, my man, he can prove himself. Maybe he was just drafted last year.
For sure,
but,
I mean, yeah.
For the most part, most of those players were big time flops.
So when I was messaging Trevor about the NBA draft, and I was like, "Hey man, like I hope the Raptors don't draft another international bust." And he's like, "What are you talking about? They haven't really done that." And I didn't really know, so I had to Google it. But I just recall them drafting a lot of international people that don't do anything. Mm-hmm. And so I gave him the list, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Yeah." But I mean, the people they've drafted from the U.S. at least, like DeMar DeRozan and Terrence Ross, they've worked obviously. But when they go international, it's kind of a different story, and that seems to be the way for most people. Now, speaking of the draft in general, we had Karl Anthony Towns go first overall to the Minnesota Timberwolves, creating a decent duo of Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And if he comes around, the third pick, first overall, Anthony Bennett. So that means they'd have 3 first overall picks on their team. Now, what does that remind you of? The Edmonton Oilers, and has that worked? No. So,
but this is basketball. You never know. This team can grow and become a dynasty if these draft picks pan out and age together. Because, I mean, think about it this way. You could have the next, I don't want to say this almost because it's crazy, but the next San Antonio Spurs in the Timberwolves with these players that they've got as of right now. Maybe just need to add a Tony Parker because Ricky Rubio isn't cutting it. But, I mean, it could happen. A dynasty is on the cards for the Timberwolves, in my mind, if they're coached right and they keep their heads kind of hung low because you don't want to get overly confident in yourselves. So,
see, with me, I like your point there because it is basketball. It's lesser of a team kind of thing, but more of a team at the same way because there's less players. Mm-hmm. So you don't really need a bunch of superstars, but you need people that can perform. Now, If you're looking at Ricky Rubio, to put it shortly, just to get him out of there, like stop using him. He's okay. That's it. If you're wanting to do something, I just dropped my pen. I'm mind blown that they didn't get in on the Michael Carter Williams trade. If the 67s at all said, "Hey, we're looking at getting rid of this guy," that guy carried the team, was outstanding, arguably the Kevin Love when he was with Timberwolves of the friggin' 67s. And what do we got? Well, I'm lost for words. Just nothing. A crack ton of pot. There we go. There you go. Like, it's just, no.
It's frustrating for Steve.
I don't like Ricky Rubio. He's like Rajon Rondo, but like a crappier version.
He is a kind of Rajon Rondo flashy passer. Doesn't really have range with his shot, but it is something he's working on. I mean, the guy is 25, I believe now, maybe turning 26 this year. But I actually like Ricky Rubio. He's just not a superstar for me. He's not
Well, I mean, it
an
depends.
outstanding player.
It depends how you're doing. Like, okay, if he's a great facilitator and you can get points from everywhere else, right now you're basically just getting it from Wiggins. So you need to have your point guard step up. I mean, look at the Raptors. Kyle Lowry. Can you imagine Kyle Lowry on the Timberwolves if Karl Anthony Towns pans out? Like, that's a scary starting lineup. Their bench, I mean, you got Zach LaVine too, and I mean, I've honestly only really watched him in the slam dunk competition, but judging from that guy's pretty good.
Levine's a decent player too, also a young player. So yeah, I don't know. I just think the Timberwolves can have something special if they're coached right. Also because it's a small market city, you know, like Minnesota's not too big of I don't know for sure, but a basketball city from what I've heard. So I mean,
right.
like if small market teams seem to work out. If you look at Portland. Portland like worked extremely well, and San Antonio just kind of keeping out of the spotlight. Teams like that, just really not like the Los Angeles, Boston, other teams that are kind of keeping out of the spotlight seem to be working out in this day and age as of results that we've seen the past couple of seasons. So yeah.
So now after we've seen or talked about a bunch of players that are kind of international busts, we look at the 4th overall pick from the Mr. Yankees, the Knickerbockers, and they take Christoph or something to that effect, Porzingis. Yes. And the fans hated that. Like
they were crying.
The fans hated that. And one of the points that was brought up on the cast of the draft was the international players that became all-stars. And that was 3 people, Mr. Dirk Nowitzki, and a couple others that I'm totally blanking on right now. But there was only 3 of them, and it's outstanding. Oh, I think it was Marc Gasol and Pau Gasol. Yeah,
Mark and Pau.
Yeah, so those are 3 players, and that was it. Now, mind you, I could be having like a mind lapse, and that could have been just from their home country. But I think internationally, there's only been a couple players that have been all-stars, and that's in the span of like the past 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's extremely risky from the Knicks.
Bargnani was an all-star at one point.
What?
Bargnani was an all-star at one point in Toronto.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Maybe Valanciunas will be an all-star coming up. He was up for the votes last year, just didn't quite make the cut, but there's another international player.
I like...
Yeah, for the most part, international players aren't really... at the same level, I guess.
Porzingis is from Latvia, kind of like Jonas Valanciunas, but like, I don't know. There's just something about Valanciunas that doesn't scream all-star to me. I think consistent starter, yes, but not all-star. Maybe again in time, he can work his magic and then go from there. Now, the Utah Jazz deciding to do something very Canadian and take all Canadians, or at least for the first 2 picks. And it's interesting, like, watching the Jazz last year, towards the end of the season, the beginning of the season, horrid. Absolutely horrid. But in the second half, they were keeping with the big teams. They were really entertaining to watch, and you saw a lot of potential there. So, I mean, I think that's something that we can watch for in the future with the Jazz. Now, I mean, apart from that, there's nothing you can really talk about the Jazz, because it's a bunch of guys that are just, trying to get by. But
yeah,
I think they're one of the teams that are to be looked at. Now, going back to the Knicks for a second, because I forgot about this, they traded Tim Hardaway Jr., arguably their second-best player next to Carmelo Anthony. In my opinion, at least. I love Tim Hardaway Jr., and what did they get for him? The 19th overall pick. So, I don't understand that, because he's pretty young, and I mean, if you're doing a rebuild...
You know what?
It doesn't work.
Maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. wanted to move. Like, maybe he's just like, this isn't working out in New York, I want to move, so they had to force through a trade, and that's the best they could get for him at the time.
The 19th pick, Tim Hardaway Jr. is definitely worth more than a 19th overall
I mean, if a guy's trying to force through a deal and wants to leave before the end of the draft, you got to do what you got to do. Take the best available option. There's always 2 sides to a story, right? So
to you, what's more important, draft picks or players? Like, I mean, if you're going in and you're like, hey, I'm going to trade, what's more valuable to you, an actual hardcore player or a draft pick of you don't know what?
Well, considering the way that NBA draft picks pan out for the most part, I'm going to want to take a player that's kind of already half proven in Tim Hardaway Jr. So, yeah, I take Tim Hardaway Jr. over the 19th overall pick any day of the week, but I guess the Knicks don't have the same thinking process as we do.
There was a team, I can't remember off the top of my head, that tried to trade 6 second-round picks for a first-rounder. Now, initially saying that, what's your take on it?
That's wild. I think that's that's a little crazy. 6 second rounders? Oh, I didn't even hear about this.
Well, okay. With that though, is remember how many players don't really make it anywhere, being from the second round though?
Yeah.
So I mean, okay, give up 6 players that are duds for one guy who can, produce. It's actually kind of smart. I mean, the trade was rejected as well. So
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of a wacky trade, but it's doable. I could see it happening.
And then we saw the Charlotte Hornets trade Lance Stevenson for Matt Barnes and Mr. Spencer Hawes. And then for some forsaken reason, they draft Frank Kaminsky III. Now, I love Kaminsky. You can argue he's a Doug McDermott, one of the players that stuck around to make his game a better overall. He was pretty poor in his freshman year, but then picked it up. One of the best three-point shooters. Really entertaining, making it to the Final Four of the NCAA tournament. But I don't see why in the world the Hornets would take this dude when they just got rid of Stevenson. You need to replace him before you basically draft for a position that you just got allocation of a trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're just trying to take the best available player at that point, and he was the best available player. So maybe not choosing for positions, just taking the best overall player that they can at the time.
I really wanted the Pistons to take him, but they ended up taking Stanley Johnson, which I mean, okay, he fits better for sure, but
yeah,
I mean, I think Kaminsky could be better. Although then you had Stanley Johnson go up and it's Detroit versus the world, and I was like, yeah, man.
Detroit versus the world. Did you see Okafor drop the 76ers jersey? Looked like he's not very happy to be a part of that organization.
No,
or maybe it was just a mistake, but I don't know. I laughed pretty hard at that.
I did not see that, but thanks for bringing that up. So Jahlil Okafor going 3rd overall. He was supposed to go to the Lakers, but obviously D'Angelo Russell go to the Lakers. I like that move for the Lakers. But Jahlil Okafor, the 76ers. So basically, with that means they should have traded the draft pick, but since they drafted him and not traded it or drafted anybody else, to me that says Joel Embiid is a bust or not coming back from his foot injury that he had when he was originally drafted, which was a year ago. Mm-hmm. So that screams to me they're either trying to do the 2014-15 Pistons 3-man front court thing that didn't really work with Drummond, Smith, and Monroe, and they're trying to do their own variation with Jahlil, Embiid, and Noel. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't look like that's going to happen, so maybe we could see Joel Embiid be traded, but if there's rumors of him being traded, then I would assume right away that means that his injury is going to prevent him from being the player that they thought he was going to be. Mm-hmm. Now, looking at the Raptors, they traded Grievous Vasquez for
a second round, which essentially turned out to be Norman Powell, and then first round of for next year's draft.
2017.
2017, sorry.
For the Clippers. So, It's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people that have said they don't like Vasquez or that he's not good. And he's not a good defender. He's probably one of the worst point guard defenders in the game. But he's pretty decent at being clutch and shooting. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you take one with it or whatever, but then you get a rookie that can, from what it seems, I don't know the guy, but from what the commentators said on the draft is that he can do a bit of everything. So
Norman Powell, yeah, he looks like a good player. I've seen a couple of videos of him at different training sessions throughout with different NBA teams, and he looks like he's a decent player who can hit he's got a good mid-range game and a good three-point game. Also looks like a bit of a high flyer. So exciting player for Toronto fans. Just what Toronto looks for in a basketball player. So
well, the thing with that is, I mean, with that 46th pick, they got a player that can kind of help out everywhere. And then with their 19th or 20th pick, I forget which number it was, but they drafted DeLon White, which is now their supposed backup for Kyle Lowry, getting rid of that. So they kind of got two fronts. As in last year, they're like, hey, we're going to draft Caboclo. Why? Oh, well, guys, guess what? Because, we don't need anything in our team. We're perfectly fine. We're set. We can win a world championship just the way we are. We don't need to do a single thing.
We don't need any depth.
And then you get knocked out again. And it's like, okay, well, Masai Ujiri, F Brooklyn and everything, but don't be like, hey guys, we're perfectly fine, and then get to the playoffs and be like, we are not perfectly fine, guys. I'm very sorry.
No.
Like, it's so pointless. But I mean, like, in general, I like Masai Ujiri, but, like, that didn't make any sense to me.
I believe in Masai.
Nobody else is going to draft Bruno Caboclo. He was not on anybody's charts. Nobody. If the Raptors didn't take that guy, nobody was going to take him.
I don't think you would have been drafted.
Now, the thing with Toronto, because they're an international city, as very few other places are, they have a wide range of different, ethnic backgrounds. So they're like, let's please to the masses instead of actually putting together a good team, which will draw out more fans than the occasional people that come to Canada to visit to see other people from their own country. But that's okay. That's okay. It's all about marketing and business. We're a team, right? It's a Toronto team, right? So Maple Leaf Sports and Production. Screw it. Who cares? Let's just buy some guy from like friggin' Antarctica and come on down to Canada. Come watch this Antarctic guy. Like,
pretty sure Bruno Caboclo played a total of 8 minutes in all of last season or something crazy like that.
That's the worst part. What do they? Why didn't they show the guy? Oh, because we have to keep it like a secret in the background because he's like a project that's going to take 2 years. You know what's going to happen? Do you know what's going to happen? We're going to get 2 years. People are going to slowly forget about Caboclo, and nobody's going to bring him up. And guess what? Poof, he's gone, and nobody cares.
He's going to be playing in the D League, or he should be playing in the D League at least if they want to make him a 2-year project. At least try and develop him somewhat.
They keep him in the starting lineup. He doesn't know any English. Like, look, okay, yes, I get it. If you don't know English, whatever, that's fine. But I mean, trying to work together, moving to an entire new country, very far away, I might add. I forget where he's from.
Brazil.
Brazil. Okay, yeah. So it's not overly far, but still, it's friggin' cold here compared to there. And it's just like I'm mind boggled at it. I'm still trying to get over that. I mean, if you watch the media last year over the reactions of stuff, people were losing their minds. Like, who is Bruno Caboclo? And then we're referencing the movie that was like the variation of Borat with that guy. It was called Bruno. That was about some gay guy going on an adventure. I don't know why, but I keep thinking of that every time I hear his name. But anyway.
Bruno Caboclo.
Oh, okay. Rant over. Try to look at notes here. Let's see what is interesting. Okay, Lakers possibly getting rid of D'Angelo Russell for DeMarcus Cousins.
We'll see what happens there. I don't think it'll happen.
If they do a straight swap, I'm probably gonna just write a letter to the Lakers telling them how stupid they are.
I mean, if they want, I don't know why they need improvement in the point guard position, so I don't know why they wouldn't have faith in this young kid they just brought in. But
they think Julius Randle's going to be something, but I mean, he immediately got hurt last year.
Yeah, I guess if you think Julius Randle is going to turn out to be a superstar, but then again, Kobe's bound to retire soon. This team needs a new look. I'm like, they need to keep these young players. Are they trying to win a championship?
I think so with Kobe because
he wants to win 6, right, and be as good as Michael Jordan.
Well, what I've heard is people legitimately have said, "Oh yeah, he's still coming back after this contract expires." Like, I hope you mean as a coach. Like, I hope you mean as a coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how he's going to continue to play. The man's got a boatload of injuries to deal with. It seems like he's always getting injured now. He's just pushing himself past the point of breaking, and I don't know if I guess he wants to win another championship and be as good as Michael Jordan, or say he did it because that's been his goal throughout his career, like, oh, Michael Jordan wears 23, I'm going to wear 24. Michael Jordan did this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be the best ever, which is great because that's what you want in a superstar. But it's gone too far at this point where it seems like Kobe almost owns the Lakers and he makes this decision for the management. And yeah, it's just not working out. I don't know. I think it'd be silly to bring in, try to win a championship next year for the Lakers. It's just not going to happen, even with Cousins in the squad.
Do you know who else owns their team? It starts with an L and ends with a J.
Who's that?
LeBron James. Players are having too much power. Look, I get it. You get drafted, whatever. You can have a say if you're a superstar of a team and a player's like, hey, I want you to draft this guy. Kind of like LeBron James. Last year we watched Shazbaz Napier or whatever, and the Heat got him. And then this year, Cleveland got the guy, I forget who, but LeBron wanted that guy as well. So, I mean, the player's influence... in the draft.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
And so then we're looking at it where players are now almost having more power than management. And for certain players, I suppose, okay, sure, it's fine. Like, I mean...
If you want to make them happy, then you do what you got to do to keep them at the team.
Yeah,
if they're going to help the team that much. I mean, LeBron almost single-handedly took the Cleveland Cavaliers to the finals, so...
Yeah,
if you got a player like that, you're going to want to try and make them happy as best you can.
I know, but I feel like players are almost having too much power. Like, I mean, look at Carmelo Anthony. The Knicks are like, okay, we have one of the best players, so let's get a coach. So they got Phil Jackson and Derek Fisher. I don't know why they got Derek Fisher. But anyway, so that was more of a management decision. But now we're looking at Cleveland, where hypothetically, the head coach might get fired simply because the players... saying, hey, look, I can do this better than this, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, with that being said, David Blatt, the Cleveland's coach, is kind of crappy and doesn't look that confident and kind of looks like a guy off Despicable Me. But, I don't like when players influence the team too much. And I feel that's going to happen with Cleveland, especially with LeBron opting out of the contract. Now, being Kevin Love, I'd get the hell out of Cleveland because that's not going to work for him. He has to be the centerpiece or else he's not going to work. So guess what? Phil Jackson and Derek Fisher, come and get him. I honestly see if they don't get Kevin Love, New York is going to have an awful season. Next year, Carmelo will be gone somewhere else. Where... hopefully Toronto, but we'll still see. Andrea Bargnani's still with the Knicks, though, so as long as you got him, you're bound for the opposite of greatness.
Everyone hates Andrea Bargnani.
No, it's just fun. It's just fun to hate him.
If you're from Canada, I mean, I remember going to Raptors games near the end of his career, and every time he touched the ball, everyone would just boo at him. And that's when he was playing for the Raptors. So
that just shows you how much people don't like certain guys.
In Toronto, especially. So if you're listening to this outside of Toronto, don't worry, we hate Andrea too.
Exactly. Knicks fans hated that trade. Like Masai Ujiri, as much as I hated him drafting Bruno Caboclo, as of right now, maybe he'll turn out to be something. But he wrecked New York with that trade. Like he disgruntled them, molded them, burnt them, and then shot them.
He got the best out of that trade.
And then, after all that, they got them to, like, serve them some cinnamon buns, which I remember I have on my counter. So anyway, that's it for this extended edition of the NBA Draft. We'll be coming at you shortly with the NHL Draft conclusion. We're going to have Trevor and Mr. Cole White join us for that, so make sure you keep checking back for that one. Thanks again for tuning in. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, BSS Sports.